Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Today I'm going to review the Movado Heritage 1917. This is a watch that I really like. I didn't necessarily think I would like it, but I ended up really enjoying this watch. I wear the 1917 quite a bit. Not everyone is convinced. I have to say, this is a polarizing timepiece. Movado is not a polarizing brand. It's actually quite conservative when it comes down to it, but this watch is not one that everyone likes. No one has anything bad to say about it, but I don't think they've given it a chance. I think that there's a lot of reasons why someone might be skeptical of a watch like the 1917. It is a heritage model, meaning it is directly inspired by something that Movado made in the past. Unsurprisingly, that was made in 1917. And on the website, when I wrote my review about this watch, there was a picture of the original 1917 Movado. And on aBlogtoWatch, there was, again, there's not the best picture of it, but you could see the watch on a strap. It had a different kind of face, but very clearly it had this shape. It was even smaller than this. Now, there's two sizes of the Movado Heritage 1917. One is, presumably for women, it's smaller, and this is the men's one, or the unisex one, it's bigger. But even the bigger one is only 35 millimeters wide. That is not very, very large. I think the smaller one is maybe 25 millimeters wide. So at 35 millimeters wide, this is small, but it's a square. So a 35 millimeter square is going to wear much larger than a 35 millimeter wide round watch. That's just going to be universally true. Movado is definitely looking after the popularity of the Cartier Santos. There's no denying that. When Cartier made the original Santos in the 20s, it wasn't the first time they made it. It was earlier than that, in like 1906, but that's when it started, I think, getting a little more popular. It was a style that other brands were making. It wasn't the only square watch around. So Movado, as we discussed in 1917, had their square watch. Others had it as well. And this square shape just ended up looking nice. When people started wearing wristwatches around that era, they very much wanted to distinguish their timepiece from a pocket watch, which is round, and a pocket watch was always round. And so when wristwatches started coming about, almost immediately, you started seeing companies experimenting with different types of case shapes. Square and rectangular were very, very popular. And there was a lot of consumers that were like, you know what? I've been looking at round dials for so long, I'm sick of it. I want to look at something else. Ovals were also popular at that time, and other types of experimental shapes. It's difficult though, because round watches kind of look nice. It's easy to make the case just look decent. With other shapes, it's just more difficult to do. Proportions are weird, making it comfortable. It's just a challenging thing. So this is one of the rare square shapes that kind of worked. Yes, it's very Santos-esque, but again, that's a design that goes back a long time, and there's been a lot of companies that have done stuff like that. But if you are in the market for a budget Santos that's still a nice Swiss-made product, well then Movado has something for you in this 1917 collection. The watch collection is available both on this matching bracelet as well as a variety of straps. This is a two-tone model, so you can see there's a gold-toned bezel along with matching hands and hour markers. Not everyone likes this dial. I like it. I kind of call it Bell & Roth-esque. It's, I think, originally an aviator-style dial, which is okay because the reality is the original Santos was an aviator-style watch. So many people think of the Santos as, I guess, a dress watch, but the Santos originally was an aviator watch. So this dial that comes from aviation clocks, from a design that was originally for aviators, is not actually inappropriate. This is historically correct in a lot of ways. So kudos to Movado. Everyone else that doesn't understand it, that's their problem. The dial also ends up being very legible. I have to say, that's probably the reason I like this. This watch is comfortable. I think it's a hip style. And when I look at the dial, I can read the time every time. The hands are just great. They're sport hands. So it's a sport watch dial on maybe a sort of a dressy watch case. So that's 35 millimeters wide. Does it look super small? No. And these days, these smaller sized watches are what's considered hip. This is really what is selling, not exclusively. If you like a bigger watch, no problem, more power to you. But this smaller size is representative of what a lot of consumers are looking for, and probably for good reason. It's more comfortable, it fits with a lot of fashion, and honestly, when done right, it doesn't look that small. It is true that for a while, watches were very large, and people were probably wearing watches that were too large for their anatomy. Not everyone, but there was definitely people wearing watches too big. Now we've gone the other way. There's people wearing watches which are too small for them. That's okay. Everyone will figure it out. Inside the watch is a Swiss-made Sellita SW200 automatic movement. Very standard Swiss-made automatic movement that you'll find in a lot of timepieces. Operates at 4 Hertz with about 2 days of power reserve. No complaints there. No date on this particular dial, which is fine. I'm not missing the date. Once in a while, I'll think a watch with a date is fine, but as an enthusiast, I don't really want it because I change watches so often that the date's almost always wrong, so I can't really use it for too much. One thing I will say, which is somewhat of a downside of these types of watches, is they tend to have less impressive water resistance ratings. A lot of that comes down to the shape of the sapphire crystal. So this is a sapphire crystal, but it's a square shape. That's more expensive to make, but also I think it has to do with the gaskets and things like that. There's weakness points at the corners, and so water can get in more easily. It's doable. You have a couple of specialized, like even divers watches with square crystals out there, but it's less common. So I wouldn't call this a swimming watch or a diving watch. Yes, you can certainly wash your hands and things like that, but I wouldn't, take this underwater or anything like that. That would be cool to have a diving version of this, for sure. The horizontal links on the bracelet, I think, are hip. I enjoy it, and I do like that the bracelet still has a lot of movability to it. You can see there's an interesting style of the way they're made. So the links are actually smaller than they appear because the connection point is a little bit closer to the middle. And basically what that allows you to do is have this look, which is nice. But if you just had these links connected to one another, actually where they end, this watch wouldn't be very fluid. I mean, the bracelet wouldn't flow. It wouldn't drape over your skin, so to say, so easily. But Movado designed this bracelet in order to do that, which I think is very clever. Standard push button, butterfly style clasp there, which is great. And yes, you can see the movement through the case back there. So it's nice that you can do that. Nothing particularly fancy. The SW200 is a fine movement, but I wouldn't call it haute horology or anything like that. How much did this watch cost? Well, Movado has priced the Heritage 1917 for men. I think it's a little bit different for women here in this 35mm wide model at $1,495 on the strap. Goes up a little bit, not too much on the bracelet. Price on the bracelet is $1,795. So I think that's a pretty good deal overall. You can see the full review of the Movado Heritage 1917 on the aBlogtoWatch.com website. I'd love to know what you think about this watch. Please comment below. Let me know how you feel about it. Would you wear it? Do you like the size? Do you think it's too small? Do you think it's too big? Do you think it's legible? Do you think it's not legible enough? Let me know, and I'll catch you in the next aBlogtoWatch watch review video. Thanks.